You got all kinds.
Let's see. Our call meeting of the Cemetery Commission to order for February 8th, 2023. I think probably have a quorum present. And we'll go right to the agenda. Public or commissioner comments. I just want to acknowledge that. Oh, hi, Brad.
Real Mark Fran is present at all hours.
It's right on the nose, yeah.
Good. Okay, the first item, public and commissioner comments. I just want to welcome Takara Netter as she's just been advanced to the position of what's your
I am just standing in Phyllis's place until,
Interim office manager.
yeah, and the job actually closes tomorrow, maybe, on the 10th.
Right. So anyway, she's taking over from Phyllis,
Okay.
who had been doing who Phyllis really bailed us out really and take over. So anyway, welcome to Takara,
Thank you.
and all best wishes on your new whatever your new position is.
Thank you.
That's, one other comment that I have, I received yesterday an email from the Bethesda African Cemetery Coalition. And I distributed it to everyone. And it's in reference to a descendants conference that they're holding via Zoom on February 25th. So I just acknowledge that we received that. And if anyone's interested, I think there was a number on that thing. So
Yeah, I think somebody should attend. Unfortunately, I can't.
Well, we'll see what about it, and yourself can do that.
okay.
I just, for reference, they probably got our name out of the Black Cemetery Coalition.
Right. Yeah, I would imagine. Anyway, I was surprised to
Black
get it
Cemetery Network.
because they must circulate the information. So the guy from Florida who is here doing work and so on. So
Yeah, but of course, we did join that organization.
yes, we did, exactly.
I'm
So,
sorry, was it the 23rd or the 27th?
28th,
yeah,
20, what?
8,
no,
7.
5th. I thought.
I'll check the email.
All right, well, shows do it anyway.
I'll just check because it's something that one or both of us.
Yeah.
Good to represent us.
Any other public comments or comments, commissioner comments? Okay, approval of minutes. We did not have a quorum on the January 11th, so we did have an interesting conversation, but nothing that we
But
could.
you couldn't accept the minutes from December because you didn't have a quorum.
Exactly, right. So we have the minutes from December 14th, which were circulated back in last year, December.
I read them just this morning to be sure, but I had read them the first time around.
Yeah, me too. I reread them before coming to the meeting, Stephanie. So I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from December 14th.
And I have a motion that we approve the minutes from December 14th.
Okay, our second who's got it. All in favor?
Yeah,
Always
we're on.
miss this one.
Okay.
At least after seeing votes, yes.
Yes.
Francis Carton votes yes.
And chair votes yes. Unanimous. Great. Approval of lot sales since our last meeting. There have been no sales. I've had several inquiries. I've gotten several phone calls. One person was interested in Prospect Hill, so I directed her to to them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and but no takers so far. For Focus.
Alan, I'm gonna back us up just a little bit. Did you see Ken Bogrand's last email?
Yes, the one that he couldn't be here this afternoon and he has nothing to report.
Not quite.
It's another one?
The very last one said that, do know that I'm continuing to discuss with the abutters,
Yeah,
with the encroaching abutters. And so if you don't mind, under comments, I'll just put a
Okay.
reference to
Right.
Ken's comments.
I've talked with Ken several times. In fact, I saw him last night at a certain meeting. And I keep reiterating, I said, look, we as a commission,
I just don't think Ken is really serving us well.
yeah, so apparently Ken's concern or whatever is that, well, anyway, I'm not sure what it is, but I told him that as far as we are concerned, as the Cemetery Commission is concerned, that we are happy with the land that we have. And, after 6.5 years of negotiation, we're gonna put our energy into our own property and so on. So.
I just feel that somehow or other we're not being taken very seriously.
Well,
And we're really not prioritized.
I'm not quite so pessimistic, but I do understand what you're saying. In part,
Oh,
the lag may be in creating an encroachment committee with authority. The encroachment committee was 2 people, one of whom is now in natural resources.
and the other is Ken.
And the others came. So should there be a link between Ken and here, the DPW, because DPW is supposed to deal with encroachments, it might rise a little bit. So that's why I'm not quite so negative, but I understand. And I'm leaving all that.
the only real benefit to the land swap really is to the Hicks.
Yeah.
Because they have an encroachment. And their argument is that, well, we're only 11 inches over the line and the building is 22 feet long. So Ken had mentioned to me that one of the things that they had talked about was trading, say, a 20-foot strip of land somewhere to clear their encroachment. And I said, well, why would we go to all that trouble and have to file and do all that stuff?
Well, the latest, and again, we really shouldn't be bothered with this, it's just not going to go into the minutes. But the latest take on it that Ken gave me was that they would swap easements and that would not require land court.
So as long
Land
as,
court filing.
what I told Ken, I said, I don't know whatever you're negotiating with them, just remember that before you sign off on it, it needs to come to the Cemetery Commission.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, we need to see a map.
yeah, well, that's going to be issue all along. Supplies needed for additional proper slots, tow markers and so on. I sent out a list.
You did.
Charlie, I'm so sorry. The first time I sent it out, I don't know what happened, but it came through.
You did a snapshot of your file manager.
I'm not terribly adept at getting files shuffled around. So anyway, I did send out a revised once I got it. So basically what I did is I took our map the cemetery map. And let me just. Show you the date there. So. There's the existing cemetery. Here, these are the existing lots here.
Road is,
The road is down here.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, down, I'm sorry, now it's way down.
okay,
So, and this is where.
oh, and this is the property, this is the town. property.
Yeah, this is the town property line, because over to that where the it's marked on the fence there, so we can't use this. So what we've, what I'm proposing we lay out are the lots as we discussed before. Row A and B will create new rows A and B. We're going to start these lots at with the number 2 because they're fairly close to the property line over here. So that will give us, yeah, how many?
2 through 24.
Well, yeah, right. So that will give us these 2 additional rows. And then we're proposing to extend existing lots or rows C, D, E, F, and G over to this line here. And that gives us a total of, I think, 47 lots altogether. And then this is the section where these rows sort of extend out. And the question is, do we want to lay these out now? My thought, as long as we're going to be laying out lots, that we may as well lay these out. These are consistent. So these lots go through lot number 20. So we'll pick up 21 through 29, except for these 2 lots, so 27, 28, and all these would be, these 3 will be 29. This will give us an additional number of lots as well. So we'll have lots, and these lots will be new. I think the total, here we go. There are a total of 131 new lots that we'll be laying out. These are the numbers, A through whatever. And then this section here will give us 44 additional lots, for a total of 151. No, anyway, or, no, so
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong number here. 124 plus 44. It still isn't 151, is it? I hate doing this stuff.
But anyway, if it's something that we have to make a decision about, I am in complete agreement with you that as long as we're laying out lots, we should lay that section out.
Yeah.
There's no point in deferring doing it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I figured.
You agree?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And that will give us a total of over 150 new lots.
Yeah. And
And that's
how many did we start with when I first started?
I believe it's 130.
Yeah, so it's
And
similar.
12 or 13?
Yes.
Yes, I think it's either 12 or 13.
So clearly, there's quite a demand and we ought to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that means we need to order these towing corner markers for that many lots.
Right. And that's so, all right, so I'd entertain a motion then to lay out these lots as described here. And then we can talk about the tow markers. and
I'll
stuff.
move to lay out the lots as described, all of them.
I'll second that
Okay,
motion.
we have a motion in a second.
Francis Cartman votes aye.
Aye, Leah's aye.
Scotty is.
Aye, and chair votes aye. Unanimous. Okay, so we have a vote to lay out the additional lots as indicated here on the map and on the list. So that brings us to the toe markers and the corner marker.
I'm happy to report, Alan, that if you look at how you constructed this, the numbers work.
Oh,
It's 151 toe markers and 175 corner.
Okay, so Charlie,
Did you make 2 copies of that?
I did.
I also have that in email form too, we can send that. Manipulate it. So I kind of did a layout here for my own self as I'm looking at these, as we start to come up with the list of what will have to be ordered. So all of the tan colored would be the new lots with the rows and numbers.
Okay.
And so I talked to a man, Jason Weaver from the Holland company.
Yeah.
Went back and forth with him about some of the options. They can either do a stainless steel disc with a pin or a cast aluminum object, or it's all one piece. The only downside with the aluminum is that you can't find it with a metal detector. So I said, longevity wise, it's about the same. His thought was that the stainless steel discs with the pin might be the best way to go.
And those are there's so the disc on top has the like a whatever.
Yep.
This will look like that, right?
Yep.
It'll be on the corner of a lot.
Yeah,
Right.
so yeah.
Yep.
So they're either 3.5 or 4.5 inches, and then with a big metal spike through the center of it. So easy to find, easy to metal detect. And then it's up to us as far as like I'll have some stuff I'll send out to everybody as far as layout options, as far as so every mark I did that little disc basically costs 18 cents.
Okay, so A is 18, 2 is 18, 3 is 18.
The slash marks.
So that's
in the
54
corner,
cents for one.
Is that 18 cents too?
So basically, I just rounded up and just said, if all 170, now obviously the toe markers won't need all 4 corners, but the ballpark, we need 175 at $8.27. So we're looking at about $1,447.
That's corner only.
That's the 175 total markers.
No, it's corner. That's corner only.
I thought it was the
Look at it carefully.
That
Toes are 151, corners are 100.
I thought there I read that wrong. I thought it was a combination. So that's easy enough. Let's just
No,
it's gonna change the math.
The toe markers,
Or there's something different.
well, the toe markers that we have out there now have each lot. So there's, C5, D12 and all, so each individual lot has a number. So
That means the toe markers would be cheaper. The question then becomes, do we need both toe markers and corner markers for every lot?
in my opinion, I like it a lot better when we have corner markers like this rather than the toe marker, because more than once we've put a stone in the wrong plot because the toe is here, and there's been a confusion whether that's the plot or that's the plot.
Right.
If you have the 4 corners, you know that would be B22. Just and stainless steel, finding it with the metal detector.
I'm solid on the corner markers. It's whether or not we need toe markers
As well.
That's if you added in the toe markers, you'll be looking at call it $2,700. Again, they'll be cheaper. I haven't done the math to subtract out all the different, every single one to the 18th cent that it'll cost to mark them. Because I would say C2 will be 18 cents cheaper than
Right.
C22. But if we go on the average, it'll come in less than that, but it shouldn't exceed.
Okay, the question I have about the corner markers is when, let's say, pick a lot here, say like D27. D27,
So I did A22 and A20, so this corner here would be marked just as this blue marker is now.
So each lot would, obviously it's got four corners, but it would have four markers. And each marker would be separately designated. So that from that marker, you could go to three other
Yeah.
lots.
Yes. So the next marker over on this 22, 23 line, came over to here, this one would be marked B22, C22, B23, C23.
Yeah.
And then give me a whole sheet on to sit and write this all out, which is why I drew up this diagram, so I can sit there and circle each corner as I write this thing out.
Yeah, I guess that was my confusion. Like, wait a minute, now what do you do at the end of the row and this?
Okay.
Well, there will be a few corner markers that don't have four.
Yeah, so one of them, so the corner of A24 would just say A24 in the northeast quadrant.
Okay. Toe markers as well.
All
How
right,
big are these discs?
Yeah,
4
there's,
inches
yeah, yep,
or 3?
they're either 4.5 or 3,
Okay.
3.5.
I'm just wondering if you've got a lot of metal in the ground, if you just see it at all.
I believe they'll come stainless steel.
Yeah.
Something said they couldn't be painted green, but
well, they don't need to be painted green. The only reason we painted the aluminum or the ones we have in the ground green is because that's what we ordered initially without any numbers or anything on it. And we just put those in the corner, but because they were the same metal as the toe markers, I bought a can of spray paint and sprayed them all green. So.
I was just worried about seeing all these dots of stainless steel in a grid. I guess that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, but ultimately they're gonna
Yeah,
be overcome by.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to find them, so they need to be the stainless.
Speaking as an heir, I would like to be able to find my parents' graves quickly. And that means being able to read those markers, particularly. Let me rephrase this. I would like to be able to find the plot that is anticipated for my parents, because there would be no stone. But the markers would then help me,
Okay. Toe markers?
both. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's more info the better. We've got toe markers right now and they don't look like, you don't see them on the road
No.
or anything like that. Like,
Yeah,
it's not like
exactly.
they've got so much
Yeah,
in the ground.
exactly.
So here are just different examples of how they could be laid out as far as orientation. And then whether or not you want the crossbars. I tend to lean toward number 1.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at it, all the numbers are facing you in the same direction.
Yeah.
With the cross hashes.
I think I agree.
Yeah, me too. Because I just think of things like kids coming and spinning them all around.
Yeah,
But,
right.
but I think if we know the orientation, like they're always going to be facing
they're
up the
always
hill, or they're
yeah.
always facing in the direction you know that. And if we had the toe markers,
Were you that kind of kid when you were young?
no, but in the cemetery, it's like,
So when I go out to the cemetery, when I'm out there with a customer. Client,
A prospective.
What I do is I show them the map and I say, we've got, these are the rows and these are the numbers and it all works. And so when I went there to try and find the marker, by the way, I usually, when I'm out there, I have an electric weed whip.
yeah.
And I can go out and just touch them, and that will usually take the grass off.
Alan,
I
think we discussed up to the point of having a motion.
We did. So I'm still not sure. I'm looking at my map here. I'm trying to figure out each marker would have a different number, but they don't necessarily. Well,
No, Charlie explained that those at the edge of the cemetery may only have two
right, they would
designations
have the bottom
as
line.
opposed to four.
Well, this one would only have one, wouldn't it? Let's say two.
Yes, right.
That would have one, and then this one would have two, this one would have, this one would have four numbers.
Yeah, so I'm gonna suggest, that, and I'm happy to make the motion once we've discussed it. That we authorize Charlie to order and that, we trust him to, make the order so that it's appropriate for where they're actually gonna go. Rather than us discussing 175 separate corner markers and 151 separate toe markers. I'm gonna suggest that we authorize Charlie to order them using example one as the format, and that whatever you need to do with the purveyor to convey the numbering scheme. That's
I think I get to handwrite them all.
Oh, that's,
He said, he sent
that'd
me,
be a great day.
he sent me, yeah, he sent me a template, which is really just get all the circles on it, for how you want them laid out.
Then the interns, it's too early for that.
Yeah, so that's why I'll basically just print this sheet out, and as I make the
Right.
mark, I'll just circling.
Yeah.
Circling corners.
But, okay, well, so if we're doing the corner markers, then I think what we should, or what, we should do is to have a list of each corner marker with, whatever we're gonna have on it. Some of them will have, ones and ones.
That's what we're just saying, we're leaving up to Charlie to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, Charlie. So when Charlie fills out the template that provided by the purveyor, he'll have that, and then we can get that into the record.
Yeah,
Well,
I
no,
can send that out
somebody-
to everybody.
Hmm.
I said I can send that out to everybody before, for approval.
Yeah, okay.
No, my motion gives you approval.
But yeah, it literally looks,
Well,
it's literally this sheet with circles,
Yeah,
and, they'll be printing out multiple of those and filling
yeah,
them out.
exactly. Because some of these, as I say, we already have corner markers in some of them, so these would replace the existing corner markers that we have.
I thought these were for the new ones.
But when you're coming up, Here.
So in other words.
you're meaning, right?
All right, so
Here.
we would only use these for the new lots.
Yeah, so those, the one, and then you see in orange or tan are the new lots,
Yeah.
where the numbers are written, that's existing.
So what will you write for this corner here?
For that corner there, it would just be 2 bars. It would be D8 and
And done.
F8.
Because we've already got the corner markers for here.
Or
and
if,
here.
or for that bottom line, for that top line, if you
Yeah.
prefer. Because that having 2 corner markers on the top, that could be, D8.
Yeah.
F8,
I think,
D9, F9, and then replace the one that's there, so it's.
Right.
Continuous with what else.
I go with what Lee just said. I think Charlie's got
Okay, great. All right, so,
Is that a motion?
Yes.
I second Lee's motion.
Well, you already did.
Oh, This guy do
it.
it?
Yeah, well, sure. Do you want it?
yeah,
You can have it.
No,
You can have the glory. You have the glory.
So,
so
There'll be more.
any further discussion? So we're in the discussion phase, we have a
Okay.
motion and a second, and now, any further discussion? Okay, Charlie, you're clear on what?
Yep.
I think we. Okay, great. All in favor of the motion, Ellie?
Aye.
Lee,
Frank
aye,
votes aye.
Scott, fine.
and chair votes aye. Great.
That was a good one, guys.
I can't tell you how many times I've been going over this, and I'm trying to figure out, doing the count of how many.
So if I show up with a few more gray hairs after I write that list, you'll
Yeah,
know why.
fun with that.
Well, if you need any.
You've
help,
got a
let me
map.
know. Now, do you have a copy of the map of this?
Well, that's what my spreadsheet is.
Oh,
The
good.
spreadsheet I entered in all the lots that you had on,
Okay.
in that list.
I do have I think it was something. I do have a smaller version, but that would be any help.
Sure.
Well, this has all the existing lots on it and the additional ones. That will give you another.
That comes from a file someplace.
Is it the one comic?
Yeah,
Or we'll reach out to them, see if they have a digital version.
Maybe they will. I think I've asked them for that before.
it could be.
I just went to the office.
When, what I did is I went in and I asked them to print me another, so I could mark it up.
Is you're old school.
I have, just take my pen and.
Yeah.
Put down.
And sometimes old school is good because
Absolutely.
I've had computers suddenly stop.
Frozen.
Well, another thing is that when Alan meets somebody in the cemetery, talk with them. Very often, they're pretty old school too, and they really want to see a paper map.
Yeah,
Right here, it's on this app.
So just to give you something more to worry about, I told my brother, I'm never gonna have the disk failure again. I'm like, I've had it in the past. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to recover from the failed disk is very difficult. It didn't take it off. So I said, I'm solid state. He says, yeah, you won't have a disk failure, but you need to know they can saturate and you lose everything. I said,
Multiple backups, Lee. So anyway,
yeah, I know. Well, part of the problem with multiple backups
they can all fail.
is that, I've got so much stuff in my computer, because I've had, ever since the internet started back in the early nineties, I've got files going back and I can never find it.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on that item, supplies
I think
needed?
we've done really well there.
Monument Restoration Project, any update?
Not really, we're kind of on hold until,
Yeah, until we get
until town meeting.
Yeah.
And or my budget items.
Now, there was something about possibility of applying for funds to do that.
Yeah, we'll have, so, we will need to apply for funds.
Mhm.
There's 81,000 or so in the account.
Mhm.
I've requested enough money to basically do,
But besides the CPC, I think I got a message from somebody about other potential sources of funding. Did anybody else get a message, or was it just sent to me? Well, I'll,
do we have enough money in the CPC grant to do a small cemetery now?
that those funds are expended
Okay, but
entirely.
I mean, not good to know.
I'm just glad we used them.
Yeah,
Then-
so, yeah, we use those plus,
Half of
basically a chunk of what I had left, in the Parks and Rec budget for the land surveys.
Thanks, Charlie.
Well, that brings up, do we want to do it here or number 6? Application for renewal at CPC.
I think we should, hopefully we'll get, whether we,
Yeah, exactly.
we repair, like, we're not gonna, like, the town's gonna say no, they don't wanna give us the cemetery lot money, and we'll need, I can pull up the number, and what we need to finish. The project, and I would say we might as well go for that amount of money.
Yeah.
Because we could always use the cemetery lot sale money. The way I had asked that to be worded was loosely enough that it wasn't strictly for restoration, but restoration and maintenance. So we could always decide to set that, go for the total amount of CPC funds to do the restoration work, and then have this other money to do, other things.
Now, the applications for the CPA grants those aren't just.
We would start basically, it's on the same timeline as capital. So we would need definitely ready for, I believe, for September.
Okay.
do we have a template for that kind of proposal?
There must be one someplace. I was gonna say, I think Ken Bogrant sits on the
Right.
Yeah.
committee, so I was gonna ask Ken if they knew, if they had something in the old files of how it was funds were requested the last time. Or I can ask Ken what's the best way to proceed.
Ken's been a big help with that, because, he was head of the or I think he still is.
Yeah.
Good, all right, so,
I'll make some sense on this.
capital.
Monument restoration is we're on hold until we get a budget from ATM. The lot sales should cover one or even two cemeteries. The CPC funds are expended, which suggests that we need to renew an application to CPC. And in the best tradition of belts and braces, we'll ask them for enough money to finish all of the cemeteries in case we don't get ATM approval, which is an unlikely scenario. We'll probably, I'm willing to bet it'll go on a consent agenda.
Oh, yeah, I believe it's one of those, items that is-
Nobody but us
it's
cares.
buried somewhere.
But in any event, should all that transpire, then Charlie says September deadlines for various applications.
Good.
We care.
Well, the budget thing, we've talked about your budget
Yeah, we've had
years
meetings
ago.
about
We had
charts and
Brian
graphs
Herbert
and
in
people
and
come in.
back and forth, and just trying to keep it all straight is really, it's a good thing we have Charlie here.
Yeah.
Brian Turbot is discussed in October 15th, 2014 minutes and April the 11th, 2018 minutes. I don't have to look again. I wrote it down.
Okay,
Lee and I, you were on the emails I sent with Brian about.
Yeah,
fund transfer.
all of those funds.
Yeah.
And we got 8 of them, 7, 8.
okay. Is there any other business to come before the commission this afternoon?
Girl, what about capital and operating budgets? You think that's covered?
Isn't that what we were just talking about?
Yeah, it's sort of all lumps
Okay,
together.
got it. Okay, anything else to come before the commission this afternoon?
Well, there's might be a meeting next Wednesday that Barbara and I will go to. They had a meeting last month and I was away, but Barbara filled me in. And that's a number of organizations, the NHA, the local branch of the Museum of African American History. I think the Egan Institute was there. Anyway, they're talking about creating some kind of new Black Heritage walking tour. Since I wasn't there, I'm sort of basing this on what Barbara told me. So I will be there this Wednesday, and when we talk about a walking tour, I think we also should be talking about the tour that Barbara and I do of the College Cemetery. I'll take in the script that we've created for that and tell them that in addition to a walking tour through town, that we really should also perhaps make it more publicly available what we tell people when we take them for a tour of the College Cemetery. Maybe there'll be some kind of QR code, something that people can just look at on their phone, and it will tell them what we tell them when we take them to the cemetery. Because Barbara and I are always available for doing it by appointment, but we don't actually get many requests. It seems I always get requested to take a group for Juneteenth. And this past summer, when the Preservation Trust people were here, or the whatever that is, it comes up from Florida. It's not the Preservation Trust.
PIM,
And,
Preservation Institute of Manchester.
right, they wanted one of us to do it, and I said, since I've just done the Juneteenth tour, I thought Barbara should do the one with them, which she did. But probably at this meeting, if you agree, I think we should push for people being able to access this information on their phones for themselves.
Yeah.
So that they don't have to make an appointment. Of course, we're always delighted if they do make an appointment with us because we feel we've got a lot to tell them. But probably there also should just be something available on one's phone,
Yeah,
just like when people go out walking on the trails.
so this OF, which could stand for odd fellow or old fellow or old anything else that starts with the letter F. I do know about QR codes. I've never used one, but it seems to me that a little QR code at the base of the sign, hold your phone up to it,
Absolutely, yeah.
and out it comes.
It provides a little link to it, like a web
Right. Exactly.
address.
So, but
That would have
it
the
has
info.
to link to something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what Fran's,
So,
Oh, no,
Yeah.
the script has to be embedded in the website.
right.
Yeah. exactly.
But last summer, when that one particular Penn student made his project, the cemetery, he was talking about having more signage, and we really felt, no, we don't want more signage.
Right.
But I think he did actually bring up the possibility of posting one of these little symbols.
Right.
And so that's something that potentially Barbara and I can work on and provide, so that people visiting the College Cemetery in the future can get information about it, whether they make an appointment with us or not.
So the description that you're talking about, that would have to be loaded up to our website, presumably?
Yeah.
And there would have to be some sort of a link.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're gonna come up with the information and
We
they'll put
we
in
already
whatever.
have a script, so
Okay.
probably the most that we would do is between us tinker with it a little bit.
Few pictures,
So we, Yeah.
pictures,
No,
map.
no, you got it.
Well, yeah, our script doesn't have a map, but we do have a map, so we can, put it all
Mhm.
together.
And then, so we'll need some little sign with the QR code on it
Yeah.
Right.
and the QR code. And then the link.
So the big thing, in my mind, is that would be an excellent addition to the Cemetery Commission website,
Mhm.
accessible to anybody who goes to the website.
Right.
And with the QR code, bingo, to that page.
Good idea.
So we'll discuss this with everybody next Wednesday, and I imagine that it will be kind of an ongoing discussion.
Yeah.
I don't think anything will be decided then and there,
That's a
but it's
idea.
good for us to talk about it.
Fran,
Yeah.
you said NHA and the African American.
Museum of African American History.
Yeah,
But I know that the Egan Institute was represented there, the town was represented by Kamal's office, the diversity thing. I honestly don't know how many other organizations were there, but those were some of them.
Right.
And it is being held at the Whaling Museum, so it's like the NHA is kind of the organizing
Yeah.
force.
The NHA also has the QR codes on some of their
Exhibits, yeah.
exhibits, so they're.
oh, I'm sure somebody can help us do that part of it.
Yeah, we can put that all through, Florency can do it, the town's
Oh,
website manager.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yep.
So I think it's kind of up to Barbara and me to present this idea on Wednesday. And then, if everybody thinks that's a grand idea, she and I will get together, we'll refine our script. We'll look at how we can arrange a map. And we'll take it from there.
I think it's
Great
an
idea.
excellent idea to have a liaison with this group, but I don't think you need to seek their permission.
No, actually, I'm not well, did I say we'd like to present it to them on Wednesday because they are seeking input from
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of us various people. And we can say, this is something that we can do to augment whatever walking tour they develop. And we can make it
Right.
available through our cemetery commission
Yeah.
website.
Is the cemetery tour part of the walking tour? Is that part of the walking just to visit the cemetery?
Not now.
I don't know at this point.
Yeah.
In the past, when we've had conducted walking tours from the Whaling Museum to the African Meeting House, there's been an optional add-on of going over to the cemetery. But fact of the matter is that's asking an awful lot of people. That's a lot of walking and not a whole lot of the people
Right.
who get as far as the meeting house really continue on to the cemetery. So it could be two standalone components, but it, with a possibility. of joining.
Depending upon how you go up past the mill, which is another feature of the walk. It's not African-American history, but it's certainly part of the 18th century history of Nantucket.
I think when we try this out with the Historic College Cemetery, if in fact we can get it together, it'd be kind of a neat thing to do for each of our cemeteries. To have at least a description or.
I agreed,
Is
without
the-
question, but
Is the script you have
One at a
different
time.
from what is posted currently online, which I believe is a transcript from you actually?
We have put it online, but, and if that's not the case, if we don't have it, what we have online is my chapter in Places and People 4. But Barbara and I actually have a script that we use when we take people there and we walk them around the cemetery from spot to spot and stop and talk about what's there.
Yeah, so if we put the script together, then you have a map of how, we can put that together, almost, have it be its own little walking tour.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
It's something we have to do, but I think that we have a lot of what we need to do it already done.
I'm sure you make it alive in terms of telling people, not that this is a grave, but that it represents a person who assisted with education or assisted with.
What we do.
And
Usually.
Just one more. And when you do your script, make sure there's a photograph of each of those
Well,
where available.
what we do is we meet people in the cemetery and we tell them a little bit about when it was first fenced. And the fact that although the proprietors permitted its fencing in recognition that burials were already taking place there, but it never actually was set off to any individual organization or church. And so in a sense, it may be a little piece of common land still. Then we say we're going to start with visiting some churchmen, and we take them to the Reverend Robinson and his family group, and we talk about them and their various things. And then we take them to see Arthur Cooper's plot and the Reverend Crawford's plot. And we say, now we've done the churchmen, and now we're going to talk about spoilers. And we go to the various spoilers plots, and then we say, and now we're going to talk about a couple of interracial marriages, and we show them those. And so it's sort of topical, and we walk people to the significant places, but it's not as if we walk in and we do some kind of grid. It's topical.
That brings it alive.
Well,
Yeah.
we think we give a really great tour.
Almost having this, talking to Brenda, see if she come down and almost video to you giving the tour, and then post the video so people could actually walk. So instead of just reading it, have it be narrated.
I think you've got a point there, because what the NHA has done recently is they've done several videos. One's a walk up Main Street. I forget, they've done maybe a half a dozen walks, generally with Miranda Dale and Peggy Godwin. So maybe we could talk them into doing a walk with Barbara and Fran.
Yeah.
I think that would be great. You have a starting point, and the two of you there, and then film, walking so that people could on their phone, they're looking at the headstone that you're talking about instead of trying to read it and find it. It can be very interesting.
I think that you've got a point. Maybe that's what we ought to propose next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when I go to a museum, I study things very carefully, and I don't buy the audio tour. But I do know that in most exhibits of fine art and so forth, you can rent the little audio tour, and what happens is you go up in front of a piece of art and you start it, you get that section, and then you stop it the start stop In other words, the video doesn't have to flow continuously.
Yeah.
I'm forcing you to walk on.
I will be happy to report next month how well. it's
Great.
going.
Great ideas.
Okay, anything else to come before us this afternoon?
Well, on the projects list, we've just taken care of all the toe and corner lot markers, I think. And I'm really happy that the fencing has been done at New North
Oh,
Cemetery.
good, I was gonna mention that.
I was so pleased to come back from my trip and see that done. It looks so good. And I know the neighbors across the street are very gratified. So hooray.
Yeah, we put that work order in. They also got the bush at the front corner there that was kind of taking over those couple of headstones. And I think one of the things we talked briefly last meeting was we now have a surveyor basically on call for the DPW. So one of my thoughts was maybe to have the cemetery corners officially pinned for us. And then we just fixed the roof, cleared the split rail up to those stairs. And didn't want them to go any further past until we knew where the back corner was. So at some point we might be able to look, if we get the survey and actually find the back corner, we could then clear and split rail and then close the cemetery with
Across
split
the
rail.
back.
Who did we get?
I'm not sure who it is that we have on basically retainer for the DPW. We have on-call surveyors.
Surveyors are definitely.
On call.
Yeah,
Always.
it's part of the encroachment things that we're working on too.
Yeah,
To be able to-
exactly, exactly. Well, the main thing is, Newtown Cemetery, they're, trying to get the town to consolidate the 4 lots that make up the cemetery. All right, is there anything else to come before us this afternoon? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, we're all in favor.
Yes.